untarnished, but there are spoilers ahead. Also, you are maidenless. Those are...
Elden Ring's DLC sucks. Let me tell you why. And no, it's not because it is too hard, although that is a valid criticism that shouldn't be overlooked just because it's a FromSoft game. But I think there are much more deep-rooted issues than just difficulty. And I know people will brush off my opinion as just another noob crying online, so I feel like I have to give my Souls-like resume. I've played and platinum Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Lies of P, and yes, even Elden Ring. I've spent a lot of time in these games. They are addicting, and every time I beat one, I just want to find another Souls-like game to play. In fact, I'm currently playing Sekiro. I've played it for 3 hours, and I think it's already better than Elden Ring. That's right. If I were to rate these games, it would probably look a little like this. Elden Ring is at the bottom, because I am of the mind that open world games are generic time sinks that try to sell you the illusion of content, and I'm tired of pretending they're not. They stretch the content thin into sporadically placed areas that don't blend in with the environment, and it completely takes me out of the immersion. Whether it's shrines or caves, they are so conveniently isolated from the main world, as if they are their own levels, and beating them just teleports you back to the beginning. It all feels very video gamey, especially when it's the same environment every time. When I played other Souls games, there are moments where I straight up forget that I'm playing a video game, and I feel like I'm exploring some distant world. I get immersed. I think it's because the entire game can be viewed as one big interconnected level. You are seamlessly going from one place to another, and as you venture into the world, you begin to unravel its paths and secrets. So while linear games sell you the illusion of exploration, they provide higher quality content. Open world games sell the illusion of content but have better exploration. But the thing about Shadow of the Erdtree is that the exploration is not that great. This is a game best enjoyed by searching up the important items, running past all the enemies, and beelining it to the bosses. I would uncover huge areas that have no purpose other than presentation, which it does well. This might be the most beautiful game I've ever played. If someone told me this is their favorite game just because of the art design, I wouldn't even argue with that. Like, that's valid. But it's just not fun to explore it. There's not much to do, and the things that you can do don't have much to offer as reward. In the base game, exploring would at least get you runes to level up with. But in the DLC, you're already leveled up, and your stats have probably been soft capped. So you need Shadow Tree fragments to get stronger. And the thing about these fragments is that they're hidden around the world as if they're collectibles, when really they are a key item for your character's progression. Like, this is the most rewarding item you can find in the DLC. I was sure defeating remembrance bosses would reward you with fragments, but no. Instead, they got 5 of them and stashed them into one area of the game behind the worst designed boss. Now sure, this does incentivize exploration, and I myself was very thorough so that I don't miss any of these fragments. But with the size of this DLC, I felt like I was just exploring how empty it is. I would not have noticed the lack of content if the game didn't prioritize exploration so hard. Look at this huge area on the map. In a game full of trick walls and hidden paths with secret passcodes to open them, you would think this prominent area would have a secret to uncover. And so I spent a good chunk of my time searching for something that didn't exist. All you do is blow on this giant thingaling as part of a side quest. That's it. Shadow of the Erdtree's exploration is so bad that I've had more fun exploring the world of Shadow of the Colossus, and that game's world is empty on purpose. So given all that, it's no surprise that my favorite part of the DLC was also the most linear. There's this section after defeating the Dragon Man where you scale this mountain full of dragons. You immediately fight one, then you find some more fighting each other. You meet a dragon lady, and there's also this guy with a hate boner for the biggest, baddest dragon of them all called Baal, and he begs you to take his finger and summon him to fight Baal.
Take this finger, my finger.
So you continue scaling the jagged peak, bumping into more dragons, stepping over their corpses. The higher you get, the crazier the storm becomes until you finally reach the top and face it.
Curse you, Baal!
right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever.
All these things added up to Bale becoming my favorite boss in the game, and it's purely because of the build up to it. It actually told a story where it felt like things were happening. It was a linear chain of setup events that wouldn't have been effective if it wasn't so linear. The open air genre needs to die. I'm sorry, it was fun in the beginning, but now I am just tired of spending hours exploring a place that will give me boring rewards. The novelty of looking across the horizon of places to explore wears off once you realize that most of it is just for show. And you cannot tell a good story in a game that lets you go wherever you want. There's this quote from a wise old Shaolin monk. It goes,
I believe in something that is called story is told, lore is found. I don't give a f. You either tell me a story or you don't tell me a story. Don't make me suck it out with a f***ing straw like.
and I couldn't have said it better myself. The story in this game is non-existent. I'm sure there's tons of convoluted lore I could delve into, but nothing in the game happens that would make me interested in any of the characters. Like, I'm not going to read a Wikipedia about a character that was on screen for 5 minutes. I watched some videos from Bati Vidya explaining the lore, and they are incredibly well made. Like, the cinematic shots he is able to get and the production value is crazy. But the fact that he even needs to go through all that trouble to make the lore seem interesting says a lot. He's basically doing the storytelling for FromSoft. And it sucks because I know that I will enjoy the game a lot more if I actually understood what's going on. For example, I found this place called Shaman Village, and it's literally just a field with old broken houses. There's nothing to see or do here, and I kind of felt like the devs forgot to add a boss fight to this area. But had I known this is the village Queen Marika grew up in, it would have made things slightly less worse. Having context to your actions and driving the story forward is a reward in of itself. That's probably why my favorite Souls-like game is Lies of P, because besides the satisfying combat, it actually has a coherent story that unfolds as you play the game with characters that you actually care about. Unfortunately, Shadow of the Erdtree's characters are just bland. Like, I'm trying to think of stuff to say about them and nothing is coming to mind right now. It could be because I didn't complete any of their side quests, and that's not by choice. I just try not to use guides while I'm playing. I did search them up later and watch what their side quests are, and
for this next part, we are going to die several times. We need to approach St. Trina and imbibe nectar, which will cause our death. We need to then repeat this step, imbibing nectar a total of 4 times. Next, we will need to go back to the Site of Grace and rest at it a total of 3 times. If we go back into the cave and speak with Tiolier, he will ask us a question, but we won't be able to respond just yet. Instead, we will need to imbibe nectar from St. Trina 2 more times.
I gotta say, NPC quests in this game are atrocious. Like, I can understand how people might like other parts of the game, but not these quests. They really require you to be in the right place at the right time, which is a big ask in this massive open world. So there is no way you're completing them without searching it up. And I really wouldn't even call it a quest, since it's just talking to people at different locations. And it doesn't help that these NPCs show no emotion. But what I consider to be the worst thing about these quests is that the rewards for completing them are actually pretty cool. You get a lot of armor and weapons from doing them. So why hide the fun rewards behind the most annoying part of the game? Meanwhile, exploring a cave gets you a glove ward, or beating a boss gets you a cookbook. Like, a cookbook. I've watched tons of gameplay of this game. I've never once seen a single person crafting. Also, some places are clearly meant to be explored once you're a higher level, but it's hard to tell if you're under leveled or not because everything is strong in the DLC. And the way I used to play past Souls games, I would kill every enemy I came across and trust that the developers set things up so that if I killed every enemy, I would be at an adequate level to face the boss. I didn't have to worry about whether or not I am under leveled or if I missed an entire part of the map that could have leveled me up. It felt like, ready or not, I have to face this boss and I have no choice except to rise up and meet the challenge. And it made beating that boss feel a lot more rewarding. In Elden Ring, however, struggling on a boss feels a lot more different, because I'm struggling by choice. You see, my skill level at these games is at a spot where using summons would feel too easy and soloing the boss feels too hard. So I'm stuck in this awkward place where I just want to beat the boss and move on, but I also don't want to have regrets later for the way I beat it. So when I spent 12 hours dying to the same boss, it didn't feel like I overcame anything when I beat it. It just felt like I spent 12 hours dying to the same boss. Which brings me to the thing that bothers me the most about Elden Ring. Combat. I much prefer combat that allows for combos and mastery, and getting good doesn't just mean that you have to learn the enemy's moveset but also your own. And doing so allows you to flex a little bit. So games like Sifu or God of War are so good. I can have my ass pounded for hours in these games and I will enjoy it because the combat is just that good and tasty. But in Elden Ring, the combat is as deep as dodge and attack. And oh, I'm sorry, jump. You can't forget the jump. To me, this is the bare minimum. It allows no room for freestyling and demands precision to the point where the fight is just following a script. It's just dodge, 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 hit, dodge, and then you keep on doing that. This is no test of mastery, it's a test of endurance. For how long can you do this same tedious task without breaking focus? There's no engaging challenge, it's just a chore. And after a couple of hours of doing this, I found myself zoning out, passively playing, until I realize I'm about to beat the boss, and then I get smacked. And I gotta start all over. It's not fun. And compared to the base game, I think these bosses were very unique and well made. It's clear that they poured all their effort into making them and then cut corners for the open world. The only exceptions though are Radahn's second phase and Commander Gaius. Radahn flashbangs you with particle effects, then hides behind Mechela's hair when he attacks. You can barely see anything, and so you can't really learn from your deaths. You just gotta trial and error a million times until you can dodge the moves before he even throws them. And I'm no stranger to challenging games. I have spent a lot more time with tougher challenges in other games. It wasn't nearly as annoying. I actually beat God of War Ragnarok's DLC, which by the way was a free update, not throwing any shade, just thought I should mention that. But anyways, I beat it on the hardest difficulty. It took me a whole month to do it. It is a feat which I think is much more difficult than beating Consort Radahn. So I promise you, I'm not against difficulty in video games. In fact, I have a whole video about the importance of difficulty in video games. But what I am against is stale gameplay. The simple combat of Elden Ring doesn't warrant this level of difficulty. If I had to choose between playing two tough platforming games, where one has smooth fluid controls and the other feels clunky and doesn't even let you see where you're jumping, you're gonna choose the one with better controls. It's the same thing here, but with combat. In fact, this DLC made me so bored that I decided to just cosplay Kratos, out of spite.
You are made in this boy.
And that was the most fun I had playing it. Now, sure, the fact that there's even enough customization in the game for me to even do this is pretty cool, but it was a horrible build, so I just went back to using the backblades. And that's the thing, the DLC introduced 103 new weapons, but only about 5 of them are worth trying. And to even try it, you have to make sure you meet the stat requirements, grind runes to buy smithing stones to upgrade your weapon, only for you to realize that actually your last weapon was better and go back to using that. And I know some people might say that what this game lacks in combat it makes up for with its rich mechanics. Yeah, mechanics it doesn't teach you.
Like, I need to know what attributes, what systems at play here that I can use to my advantage. From what I can see, all I've got is the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, and that is it.
I see this game in the same light as Tears of the Kingdom, where there are a lot of cool and creative builds you can come up with, but they feel unintuitive, so most people won't take the time to do them and would rather just look online at the crazy stuff other people make. And it's hard to judge these make your own fun kind of games because everyone is going to have a different experience. Personally, I hate the fact that game devs are putting the burden of getting my money's worth on me. I have to create my own perfectly tailored build that will give me a balanced experience. That's your job. And the way I see it, the higher the difficulty, the higher the sense of accomplishment, right? So when they add all these tools to make the boss easier, my perceived difficulty of the boss goes down, and even though I'm not using any of these tools, in the back of my mind, I know that if I wanted to, these bosses could easily be beaten with a broken build. And so it dampens the overall sense of accomplishment. Now this could very well just be a me problem, because when I look at other people's gameplay, they have had similar, if not worse, experiences than mine, and yet they still turn around and call it a 10 out of 10.
Fuck! Bro, this is not fun. It's honestly probably one of the best video games of all time.
This game is a cinema. Although I died multiple times. Leave me alone! Leave me alone! It was very rewarding. I wanna beat this shit! Nigga, I wanna go outside! I wanna go inside! I'm tired of this fucking shit! You think I want this shit? I literally enjoyed every boss death. I hate this game! Absolute cinema, 10 out of 10 across the board. This is my favorite game that I've ever played for a marathon on stream, and that's facts.
Thank God, fist only finally did it. Holy shit. Christ. It's finally over. The nightmare ends. But man, there's just no feeling like that. That's why I play Souls right there, to finally overcome that.
I think it's just too hard, man. I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, this it's not fun. It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest game of all time. Is because, like, knowledge is power. It is your best secondary stat, man. It does a poor job of explaining. Yeah, I know.
Like, what is going on? Why is everyone so happy with such mid gameplay? A hard game doesn't have to feel like a Mr. Beast challenge. It is possible for a game to be difficult and fun at the same time. I feel like Squidward in that one episode where SpongeBob is having a blast with just a piece of paper, and Squidward is watching him confused at how happy he is with nothing but a paper. And so Squidward, being desperate to feel happy, sells everything he owns for that paper. Except when he tries having fun with it like SpongeBob did, he just feels stupid. And that's pretty much how I felt playing this game. Stupid. Every death didn't just mean that I would have to try again. It meant that I would have to spend more time away from something else that I'd rather be doing.
A schedule that I want to be able to do in life, and I can't do it. So like the thing that be stressing me out is that this bitch ass boss is stopping me from enjoying my life.
And now you're probably thinking, why not go do something else? Take a break. No one is forcing you to sit here and bash your head. Except the game is designed to coerce the player into doing a marathon. The process of trying to beat a boss, failing countless times, until hooray, yay, you finally did it after hours of failing. It gives you a big dopamine hit of delayed gratification. You then go back out into the world, fight weaker enemies, giving you the confidence boost to continue playing until you reach the next boss. And since the greater the difficulty, the greater the sense of accomplishment, meeting difficult enemies throws you right back into this loop. It starts to feel like rolling a slot machine, trying and trying until you get that delayed gratification. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it takes a tremendous amount of self-control to say no, this is not good for me, and step away. A disturbing example of this is popular streamer Atriox's 15-hour-long VOD of his DLC playthrough. Man, was this tough to watch. It was basically 15 hours of a man losing himself, falling into insanity. After I saw this VOD, I went and watched The Joker so I can make myself feel better. It's that bad. He starts out in good spirits, excited to finally be playing the new Elden Ring DLC. And for the first 5 hours, he was doing alright.
Wowie zowie, a whole world to explore here.
2 of those hours were spent facing the Black Gull Knight, but he was always able to laugh off his deaths and remain positive, smiling through the pain. And after finally beating the Black Knight, he immediately went and faced the Fire Golem, which he killed without too much trouble, giving him that confidence boost.
Well, it wasn't even that many tries. I thought I was gonna quit on that.
Enough confidence to beeline it to the first dungeon. So far, he's in good spirits. You know, he's cracking jokes every now and then, interacting with the chat. However, when it came time to face the first legacy boss, well, knowing the tragedy about to transpire, it hurts me to watch him go in there.
So I'm facing this boss with absolutely nothing new, levels, armor, weapons in the DLC.
Atrioc would suffer the next 9 hours in an agonizing battle against a divine beast dancing lion. That is 9 hours straight, no breaks in between, of dying to the same boss over and over and over. This was no silly Kai Cenat shenanigans. This was a man torturing himself, clearly not having fun. About 3 hours into the fight, there is a clear shift in his body language. The only time he talked was to voice his discomfort.
I'm not having any fun.
5 hours in, he has gone silent, occasionally whispering things to himself. Stopped making jokes, gets super fidgety, he's past his tipping point. Even his chat wants him to stop, urging him to get some sleep or at least take a 5-minute break. But nothing was getting through to him. What was once a bright and merry man became a gloomy, tormented person. He was fighting 2 battles, one in the virtual world and the other with himself. And I'm not saying all this to point fun at him. I actually respect his willpower, and to his credit, he did end up beating the boss.
Yes! Yes, yes, yes! It's the most miserable experience of my life. That was the least fun I've ever had playing video games in my entire life. That was the least fun I've ever had streaming my entire life. The only fucking reason I did that was because it was a fucking hard thing, and life's gonna give me some hard things. And if I quit on this, I would quit on that. That's the only fucking reason. If I couldn't finish this, then how am I gonna finish something harder in life? But holy fuck, that was miserable. That was fucking miserable.
And if you're worried about him, a couple days later he was right back to his cheery self.
Miyazaki, you've done it again. The spectral steed is frightened and can't be summoned.
But I just wanted to bring to your attention that this is what this game does to a person. It cozies up to you, and then you get hurt like this. Actually, the game doesn't even allow you to pause it. I'm sure that is a conscious decision made by the developers to keep you playing longer. Of course, it doesn't help either that the culture surrounding the game is to just tough it out and get good.
This DLC comes with built-in training wheels should you choose to activate them with the Scadu Tree fragments. Or you could subscribe to the ancient belief system and just get good. Just be better. Like if you're struggling to a point that you're about to cast self-destruct, just use a f***ing summon. You aren't good enough to do it without clearly, and what are you trying to prove anyway?
It's a skill issue. Put your big boy pants on, go out there, and go fight.
If this is what getting good looks like, I'm good. Which, by the way, the sentiment, what did you expect? Of course a Souls game is hard. I think that is just stupid. Because this is a DLC only available after beating one of the hardest bosses in the base game. So I'm sure that the people playing Shadow of the Erdtree would be aware of the difficulty. And so if those players are struggling in the DLC, and I mean really struggling, then I say it's the DLC's fault for not communicating its mechanics to the players. See, usually gamers are hypercritical about the games they play, but FromSoft fans make excuses for it, because it's become From Software tradition to have bad UI, lag, and convoluted quest lines. Things that other games get criticized for become artistic choices in Elden Ring. I mean, can you imagine if people complained about the story in Last of Us 2, and fans went, well, what did you expect? This is Last of Us. You should have known that sad stuff happens in Last of Us games.
Like, people were like excited, Joel and Ellie were coming back. I'm like, are you sure you're excited? Because you know what happens in this world when characters, like, if there's more story to tell in this world, bad stuff is going to happen to those characters.
The fact is, you bought a game and had a bad experience with it. And also, seeing so many people upset with its difficulty, yet still playing, reveals something else. People are not playing this game because it's fun, but just so that they can say they beat it. To wear this game like a badge of honor that says, I beat Elden Ring with no summons, ashes of war, or magic. Because if you're just going to use the mechanics to make the game easier, then what's the point of even beating it? The difficulty is the content. And by making it easier, you are removing content for yourself. And I mean that both from a gameplay perspective and an online creator perspective. Since this game is fun to beat and not play, it feels really fun to watch. This is the perfect game for streamers. It's easy content. It's also validating to see others struggling more than you did, and when you see them win, it's motivating because if they can beat the boss, then so can you. I honestly cannot stress enough how much of this game's success is owed to streamers. Souls games have always had an audience for sure, but streamers made them mainstream. Like, FromSoft doesn't even have to market the game, because streamers will do it for them. And they know that. Bandai Namco sent Kai Cenat a life-size Millennia statue to commemorate him for his Elden Ring stream. They definitely saw a boost of players when he did his marathon. I think really the reason I might come off as being harsh in this video is because I'm honestly confused why this game is getting the praise it's getting, when it clearly leaves so much more to be desired. Shadow of the Erdtree had one of the worst endings to any DLC I've ever played. You beat the final boss, watch the worst cutscene in the game, and then that's it. There's not even any credits, you just stay in the boss arena. I actually had to check online whether I had beat the game or not. And despite the dozens of hours of suffering this game puts you through in order to feel any enjoyment, FromSoft fans will still glaze it, saying it has amazing world building, story, and combat, and unless you suffer 20 hours with a caveman build, you're not really playing the game. Hold up, are FromSoft fans just the gaming equivalent of One Piece fans? That would explain a lot. Anyways, if I had to rate the DLC, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's not the worst thing ever. The art design really is amazing. But if I had to rate my personal experience playing it, I'd say more of a 5 out of 10. So there you guys have it. I think the DLC is way overhyped, and a lot of people don't mention the fact that it costs $50 Canadian. Like, that's almost as much as a full game. Actually, I'm pretty sure the base game goes on sale for lower than that. So I do feel kinda ripped off. And last thing I want to say, I know how much people love this game. And if nothing of what I said in this video has resonated with you, then consider me just another stupid voice on the internet that doesn't know what he is talking about. Because at the end of the day, no matter what I say or think about this game, it doesn't change your own experiences with it. You either enjoyed it or you didn't. Let me know in the comments how your playthrough went, and I always try to respond to as many comments as possible. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, maybe even a subscribe would be nice, you know? It really helps smaller channels like mine, so I would really appreciate it. Also, if you want to hear me talk more about video game difficulty, then check out this video here.